You know, I used to think $1 million was enough to retire, but it's not. It's not even remotely close. You see, once upon a time, having $1 million meant financial freedom. But have you seen what's been going on lately with the healthcare costs being so expensive, the cost of living being so high, and housing for so many people is unreachable? For so many people, having their equity on their home was the number one way for them to build wealth. For so many people, that's not an option. You see, $1 million doesn't even cover the basics for a retirement. So if you have $1 million right now in your retirement account, you really need to think again and start changing your strategy and how to build more money. Because times now have changed and you certainly need to do as well. In this video, I want to have a conversation with you and let you know the reason why $1 million is just not enough and the things that you can do to prepare yourself for retirement. You see, let me paint the scenario to how things were in the 90s and the early 2000s. $1 million was the number one benchmark that so many people wanted to reach. And it makes sense because that's a lot of money. And if you follow the safe withdrawal rate, which is 4%, that's $40,000 a year. If anyone in this video remembers a time in the 90s and the early 2000s, that is extremely feasible, especially when you add on top of that Social Security. But you see, the reason why hitting a million to live off $40,000 a year was really comfortable was because the price of rent was extremely low, extremely low. Going to school and getting student loans was no big deal. Most people had a part-time job to pay off for all their schooling. And rent, it was damn near free. Everyone lived on their own, didn't need so many roommates, and it wasn't a huge burden on them financially. So fast forward to the times now. You see how much the price of rent is. I remember hearing stories from my brother in 1999, living in New Jersey, beautiful city, New Jersey. He was spending only $550 a month. There is nowhere in New Jersey where you can spend $550 a month. Now the average rent cost is $2,100. And the healthcare premiums had just ballooned. Healthcare is the number one reason why so many people are filing bankruptcy. And grocery shopping is damn near becoming a luxury. But so many people now are using buy now, pay later to pay for groceries. And the only reason is because it's extremely expensive. And now in some cities, $1 million, you will barely make it within 15 to 20 years. And it's not only the fact that everything is getting so expensive, it's also the fact that we're living longer. So the longer we're living, the more money that we will need. And especially to live during these times, a million is not going to cut it. And with that being said, the longer you live, the more you have to deal with inflation. And the longer you have to live with inflation, the more it's taking from your savings. Now, I'm not trying to be all negative, but there's also a lot of data out there that you certainly need to be aware of. A lot of financial planners are ringing the alarm how market returns right now are completely uncertain. You are seeing that. If you're an investor, you're noticing as well, the returns is never certain. We're dealing with so much turbulence. But now the positive things about this, guys, is this is always going to be a thing when you invest. It's always going to go up. It's always going to go down. And market uncertainty right now for someone in the late 50s or in the mid 60s, that is a big scare for them. But someone right now that's young, especially some of these Gen Zs or even millennials, you could weather the storm. But you certainly need to understand that nothing right now is guaranteed. Not even bonds. Bonds used to be a guaranteed safe haven, and that's not in the picture anymore. And the numbers, well, they don't lie. If you have $1 million and you do a 4% safe withdrawal rate, that's only going to be $40,000 for the whole year. But listen to this. The average amount of money retirees are paying in their retirement is $53,000 plus. And in some cities, especially the higher cost cities, is $74,000. With that being said, you only have a few options here if you have $1 million, which is to cut your lifestyle tremendously and reduce your debt and expenses as much as possible. But if you continue living the life you're living now and you have this unrealistic lifestyle, well, the 1 million is not going to be enough because you will certainly be at risk of running out of money. So what are the things that you can do now? What changes could you make in your finances in order for you to not be a victim of someone that goes into retirement and loses all their money? First, you need to understand a million is not going to be enough. You need to aim for at least $1.5 to $2 million into your retirement. Now, building this income could come from many ways. You certainly need to diversify all the ways you can build wealth right now. You can do this in real estate, a Roth IRA, which I highly recommend, a HSA, doing a side hustle. There's so many things now that you can do during these times to boost your income as much as possible. You cannot just sit in the sideline with all this fear and worry about doing all these things. You're going to have to get out of your comfort zone and start making some real money. And something else you can do as well is start looking at your expenses and become extremely realistic. If you're living in an area, especially a high cost area, and you do not have enough money in your retirement, then you certainly need to find ways to learn how to geo arbitrage and start living in other places where the cost of living is a lot less. You see so many people moving to Thailand, Costa Rica. There's even some places in America where you could live where the cost of living is a lot cheaper. You certainly need to start figuring that out now. That way you don't end up in retirement becoming dead broke or living in a place that you cannot even afford. And what's crazy about this all is the middle class is starting to feel like the poor class. And the millionaire status, which was making a million, is starting to feel like the middle class dream that we all wanted. And $1 million, guys, is not nothing to laugh at as well. Currently, the median balance of a 401k right now for someone in retirement age is $251,000. Now, you may be wondering, how the hell are they making it with that much money? Most of them have pension or Social Security. But us millennials, we don't not have that option. And Social Security might not be around. And this video, guys, is not about fear. It's about facts. I want to give you guys as much facts as possible. That way you guys could be aware of the situation you're going up against. That way you're not surprised when you retire. You're young right now. You're vibrant. You could go out and start saving and investing and doing all the right things to make sure your future is set. There's no reason you're going to retirement broke because of the fact is you never took care of all the things you need to take care of now during these times. So make this be a wake-up call for you to start making the changes necessary in order for you to not retire broke. Do not just assume that the old rules that you were told still applies today. So let me ask you a question. Do you think $1 million is actually enough to retire today? And how much money do you have in your retirement account? And when are you expecting to retire? Drop the number down below because I would love to read it and I'll respond back to as many comments as possible. Catch you guys on my next video. Peace.